Feel so proud. It's such a big moment for us.
And it's the
So we move on. My goodness, seeing those scenes is, it's emotional. There's so much emotion behind what this means. But our next race is the Hambleden Pairs Challenge Cup, and we have a pair from France and a pair from Canada. So this is a real international matchup.
I will start you like this.
We have Emma Cornelis and Josephine Cornut-Danjou, who are on the Berkshire station there.
Go.
We're looking at them in the picture, and they will be racing Alexis Cronk and Kirsten Edwards of Canada, who are on the right of your picture. So, bienvenue à tous qui regardent en France et bonne chance. We're looking forward to this international race.
That is super impressive.
Go.
So we're off. It's the Hambleden Pairs Challenge Cup, open women's pairs, and we are in for a treat. Some really classy athletes who've raced internationally. We have the Canadians, lots of experience. Both of these pairs wanted to be at the Paris Olympics and missed out by a tiny, tiny amount. So they've come here to finish their season in style, to push themselves, to come away with something from the season.
And that's super impressive. You think about that massive, that drive to try and get to the Olympics, and then the low of not making it, but then still willing to keep training and come to Henley, and the importance of the regatta to them. That hats off to them for that.
And so much, that's what Henley Royal Regatta is about, because the athletes love racing here. It still means a lot to them. This would be a huge opportunity for them. So we see the French here, Emma Cornelis and Josephine Cornut-Danjou, who are coached by Yvan Deslavier. Really bitterly disappointed not to be in Paris in their home Olympics, but they've come just across the water to see what they can do, and they've had a really slick start.
Well, they've shot off the blocks there and really taken the early advantage, but what we've just seen with a Canadian crew just sitting there doing their thing, don't tow them, because they're going to get the sense that they're going to come back. So really kind of keep that momentum, keep moving out, don't just let it stick.
And more than anything in the pair, you have that opportunity of just two of you, so you can make really big changes in speed, can't you? When you both decide to go, you can make up a length quite quickly. So you always know you've got that flexibility, but the Canadians need to hang on here.
Well, what about, because obviously with your experience of racing the pair, Kath, what would be going through your mind at this particular race if you're in the Canadian crew?
Yeah, so it would be about making sure we don't drop the rate too much, but we're getting our rhythm. It's the rhythm that's going to take you down the course, but it needs to be a power rhythm. You might be checking your length. We just need to relax and make sure we let that boat roll out to full length. I think they're rowing well, the Canadian crew, Alexis and Kirsten, and they have huge experience together. They actually first rowed at University of Victoria about 5 years ago together, so they know each other well. So I think they'll be in their own boat, but of course you have to have in mind not to let the others get away.
Yeah, and you can just see the French crew's just broken contact, which is the worst thing you want at Henley, because then you just can't sense them, you can't feel them around you.
Yeah, so both these Canadian athletes have also been racing in the 8 a lot, and so that's a big change then coming into a pair. They have experience. They were in both the Canadian 8 in 2022 and 2023. I believe that Alexis Cronk's grandfather has got a big breakfast party going on out, on the West Coast. It's very early there, so a huge welcome to you all. We're delighted to have so many international viewers with us today, and questions are being asked of Alexis and Kirsten at the moment, and we're going to see as they start to come into this middle 1,000 now, what's that core boat speed that they have, and I think they're creeping back, aren't they?
And I guess it's really challenging if you go from the bigger boat where you've got someone leading it, like the cox telling you what's going on and reading the race and keeping everybody on track, and then you go into a small boat where it's much quieter, then you've got to lead that. That's a real challenge to kind of get that flicking that switch from one boat to another.
It is, and you're 50% of the crew, you're the only one on your side. The thing I loved about pairs is that interdependence you have. I mean, the balance is always a challenge, and people describe it as a tightrope roper's pole, and you've got 50% each. You're utterly dependent on each other, and that brings both joy, but it also can bring battles and fights. And we can see the French pair just sort of moving out a little bit into the middle of the course, but of course they've got quite a lot of clear water at the moment.
Yeah, and that's, if you give them too much advantage, then they will, they tend to shift across. So it'd be interesting to see the umpire standing up, asking them to move back to their station.
Yeah, and we can see that, it's always a little challenging in the pair. Of course, the the steering as well. Usually the steering foot will be the bow person. I haven't got it marked in our programs today who's steering, but you know, again, in Henley you get kind of tossed around, and because you've only got one pair on each side, it's quite one rower on each side, one oar on each side. You know, you hit a bump on one side, that suddenly swings you round if you don't quite get a clean stroke. So it is really challenging water for pairs. But I mean, these are experienced athletes, and they're managing that very well. What have Canada got to do at this point?
I think it's that relaying of information from, you know, when you're in the bow seat, just making sure that there's only one of you looking. Because if you both start looking, then that's when I sense kind of panic kind of comes in. But this is it's kind of the dead part of the race where you're really in the centre of the river. It's actually, you feel quite distant from everything. But it's about, you know, making sure that they're going to have to start moving early. They can't wait till later on, because this race will be dead and buried by then.
Yeah, they need to start eating into that. And it's never, when you feel you're sort of closer to the umpire than the crew you're racing, that's, you know, again, it's not what you want to be focusing on. You want to be getting a sniff of that, but you're going to have to work it back stroke by stroke. So they're going to have to be thinking, right, we need to kind of up the power per stroke, the boat speed per stroke, and we're going to have to sort of work that over 30 strokes, thinking about a particular technical focus, drawing on all the experience they have. They won the Uni Champs together in 2021. They've been building up their careers to this point. They'll be disappointed not to have made the Canadian Women's 8, but these are athletes of the future who want to gain this experience in the pairs that will help them in that next Olympiad as well. So a lovely overhead shot there. And
you could just see, you know, when we had that image of from behind the crews as they were coming towards the camera, you could see the 3/4 mile mark. You can see in the right-hand side there, the 1 and 2, just a difference, distance between the two crews, and you know whether the Canadians will be sensing that so they don't have to look, knowing where they are. You know, trying to use the markers as kind of areas to kind of push and move on from now to get back on terms.
That shot behind is lovely. You can see there's a directness of the French crew. Their boat is moving forwards. There's a little bit of sideways movement happening in the Canadian crew. Again, a little bit of maybe sort of almost pushing against each other, just a little bit in the power curves in how they're rowing. Whereas here, the boat is moving beautifully straight.
Yeah, they're in sync, aren't they? They're moving really well. You can just see, looks like they're just shifting across again. The umpire's up again, ask them to move back to their station.
No one wants to get on the booms, and when you're in a pair, that's a particularly frightening prospect, so that you have that urge to move to the middle. But they are being warned very clearly they must not come over any further, and they'll have to make a small adjustment. There's a livelier rate, isn't it? You can see the stroke rate, number of strokes per minute, it's just a little livelier. It feels like they're able to kind of keep that pace going.
It's that kind of springiness, isn't it? It's not dead, it's not heavy. It looks dynamic, they're moving really well, really efficiently, and really kind of trying to pile on the pressure.
Exactly. So coached by Ivan de Slavière, who was in the French men's quad at the 2000 Olympics. So he's been pouring all of his experience into them on the campaign they've been. They often have a reasonably small French team, you know, they'll have been, yeah, absolutely going all guns blazing to try and get into the Paris Olympics. But huge experience here. Emma Cornelis has been in the senior pair for a while. Josephine Cornut-Danjou is under 23. She won a medal in the pair last year. So, you know, a real up-and-coming athlete there, and learning all the time.
And that's, you know, this is what kind of racing is, racing in different locations, learning about different courses, you know, and especially the uniqueness of racing at Henley, that dual races side by side, you learn so much about yourself.
Absolutely, and you learn a lot about each other when you're in a pair. It's an intense relationship. You are absolutely dependent on each other. You need each other. It's about how do we respond together when we get tired. And they'll now be hearing the crowds. And again, the rate, it feels lively in that French pair crew, in that French crew.
Being this early in the morning, it's great that everybody's kind of tuned in, kind of watching it, you know, cheering on their crews. Got two little people at home, Kyra and Calvin, saying, "Daddy, we want to racing," so they're listening for their voices to be heard.
Great power, really direct there, pushing through on the legs, those final strokes, and it's really tough work. The Canadians have put in so much down this course, but they've been underdogs, they've been behind all the way, and that puts a pressure on you. They haven't been able to at all get their noses in front, and so we see a really brilliant victory for France in the Hambleden Pairs Challenge Cup. Emma Cornelis and Josephine Cornut-Danjou have rescued their season, and they have beaten Alexis Cronk and Kirsten Edwards, and that will mean so much to them, having not got through the qualification regatta. But they go home with the trophy, with the medals from Henley Royal Regatta, and huge pride at having been in a brilliant final against incredible competitors from Canada. A huge thank you to Mark Hunt. It's been brilliant to commentate with you.